Oh, you mean start the whole thing? Okay. Hi, welcome to Breakfast All Day. Alonso, Christy, Matt. Welcome to my home because Christy's moving. And so we're going to be here for a while. We'll see how that plays out.
Unless you guys come to Palos Verdes.
We might.
To record sometimes. Peacocks roam the streets freely. It's idyllic.
You've basically moved to, like, Queens.
Exactly.
Queens by the sea. It's beautiful.
I'm sure it is, but it's a hike. Anyway, so Rocketman opens this week off of its big debut at the Cannes Film Festival. This is the Elton John biopic that his husband executive produced, and he, I'm sure, was very involved with every step of the way.
He was an advisor to Taron Egerton.
I'm sure he was. So obviously everybody's comparing this to Bohemian Rhapsody, and there are some differences. First of all, this is not your standard biopic in that people kind of burst into song at random moments, and there's no attention paid to the chronology in which the songs were written, which is fine. It's a bit of a Mamma Mia effect. And there's actual gay boning in this movie. So it's not like one of my favorite lines somebody said about Bohemian Rhapsody is the movie where longing glances get you AIDS. I didn't love this, though, because I don't think it's a very good musical, which is what it wants to be. There's energy there, but I found it, I don't know. There's something about the modern musical that is just hitting me in all the wrong ways, and maybe it just means I'm old, but like, if I have to sit through another one of these or another Greatest Showman, it's like, I'd rather not.
Well, the thing is, it is a totally paint-by-numbers, formulaic, standard biopic from the very beginning. We should mention that Dexter Fletcher, who came in to clean up Bohemian Rhapsody, directed this.
Dexter Fletcher, who played Soup in Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels.
That's really funny.
Yeah, he used to be an actor.
Yeah.
They're really similar in that they both begin, as so many music biopics begin, with a crucial moment of emotion and flux in this artist's life, and then it flashes back to catch you up to how he got there.
Yeah, this is a rehab movie, which you know the beats of a rehab movie.
And so Taron Egerton is Elton John, and
is it Egerton?
I think it is it not?
I thought it was saying Egerton.
I think Egerton has a D in it, like Joel.
Joel
Egerton,
okay. Yeah.
Egerton. Okay, fine.
I think so.
Eggsy. Yeah.
He was Eggsy. He is working his ass off, and he's really singing. Unlike the Oscar-winning Rami Malek, who lip-synced through giant teeth, Taron's actually singing here, and he doesn't sound like Elton John, and he doesn't really look like Elton John, but he gets that vibe, and he gets that energy, and that's probably preferable.
He looks like Elton John wishes he looked.
That's true.
Well, true.
He's hot Elton John. So, he's working his ass off, and he's singing his heart out, and some of the songs, I will give them credit for this, are staged and arranged in a way that it's innovative, and it helps achieve new meaning to the lyrics that is unexpected, right? We've heard these songs so many times that a major challenge here is, how do you make it not feel like you're at a tourist trap sing-along bar in Dallas? Right?
Wow, that's exactly how I felt for most of this
Right?
movie.
Oh, no,
Like
this
I
is
was
far
in a
better
tourist
than
trap
that.
sing-along
Listen,
bar
this
in Dallas.
What's that one that's in downtown Dallas with the dueling pianos, the
I know
sing-along
what you
bar?
mean. Yeah.
Any
It's
of the dueling pianos
Anyway,
bars.
I'll look it up, but
Kill
they
me.
do a lot of Elton John and a lot of Billy Joel. And so how do you avoid that sensation? And a lot of it is staged. It's like a sort of Fantasia, right? A lot of it is staged in very magical, mythical ways. Some work better than others. I think the whole segment with Rocketman itself is like its own little mini movie. Like, so much happens and it flows so beautifully that I wish that verb had been applied to the whole story, because Elton John's a guy who has taken chances. He's flashy, he's flamboyant, he's singular, and this movie is kind of cookie cutter in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I mean, the movie, I think, doesn't know what to do with Elton John as an artist, because Bernie Taupin wrote the lyrics. Lyrics are what make the songs a lot, in a lot of ways what they are. And so it just becomes reduced to a series of him wearing crazy outfits.
Well, you have a montage of him going shopping to buy the crazy outfits.
Right, but
the
it's
obligatory montage.
But the movie sort of treats it like that's his, there's a reference to Liberace in the movie, and the movie kind of treats him like Liberace. He plays piano good and he wears crazy outfits. And I know it's hard to convey what a songwriter does in a movie or what most artists do in a visual way, but this one doesn't even seem to really try.
as to why he does what he does. You mean like what
how he
drives
does it, or
him?
why he's special, or why he's good, or why he's different.
He's a piano prodigy. We see that early on.
Yes, but that's about performance, and that's about like he's a talented mimic as a child. Like he can hear a snatch of music and hammer it out. But if he's the guy who's creating the melodies to these, Bernie Taupin lyrics, I'm not seeing that in the movie as a source of why this guy's important. Well, I'm seeing a really good piano player who wears crazy outfits.
I think one of the things the movie's doing is showing that how effortless the songwriting was for him, the melody writing. That he gets lyrics and then he just immediately kind of like jams something out.
Like in your song that happens.
Yeah, like and Daniel, right? Like I like this more than you. I think it's look, it's a jukebox musical, right? Like it's definitely like, hey, here's a bunch of songs. We're going to play you the hits that we know you want to hear.
It's been the staple. This is the kind of thing that's been the staple of Broadway for the last several years.
It's like prepackaged for Broadway already,
right? But I think that this is better than a lot of the ones that we've previously gotten. I think it's far, far, far better than The Greatest Showman. I enjoyed it. Like it kind of was exactly what I was hoping I was going to get. Like it is super glam. It's over the top in a lot of places. You kind of go into it. If you've watched any of the trailers, like you're kind of expecting a little bit of like fantastic, just craziness, and you get a fair amount of that, which I think you'd kind of expect from Elton John. It does toe this line. It's this interesting line in that it'll show where he's, it's unflinching in some of the stuff that it shows about him, which is somewhat surprising considering that he's involved in it. And yet it still kind of comes out okay.
The addiction stuff, you mean?
Yeah. But again, like I kind of dug this and, to me, like him working through that addiction stuff, like that kind of rang true for me. And like when he's in the room, like kind of towards the end, like that all worked for me. And the music, like the performances, I found that there was an energy there. I enjoyed this a lot. So
when they trot out his inner child at the rehab sessions, I was like, no.
I had to watch that. I had to watch it through splayed fingers. I'm like, I know what's coming, and I cannot look at it straight on.
That I actually was okay with that. I totally,
it's so literal.
I was okay with that.
You're right. This movie, I think, does lead us to expect something really crazy, and Dexter Fletcher is not Baz Luhrmann, and I think that this movie needed somebody like Luhrmann who could sort of jettison a lot of narrative and just like go more for the feeling of songs or the feeling of different moments of his life. This just felt like this sort of pedestrian rehab flashback story and how I got my life back together behind the music thing with an occasional
I agree with you.
Faulty musical numbers.
Yeah, I mean, give it to
Luhrmann
or who did Chicago? Hackford?
Oh, no.
Rob Marshall.
Rob Marshall. Like Rob Marshall, I think could have done this too. Maybe, but certainly this was the movie that Baz Luhrmann was born to direct, right?
It has glimmers of greatness, but they are sporadic, like glimmers of like impressive, the set pieces of the actual songs.
Yeah.
What I liked a lot was when Jamie Bell as Bernie Taupin does Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, and that's a different way into that song, which I really like. So there's some really inventive moments here and there.
I like Jamie Bell in general.
Me too.
I thought he was really good.
Let's talk about Richard Madden.
Richard Madden playing a character who also pops up in Bohemian Rhapsody. This guy was Queen's manager. He was also Elton John's manager and Elton John's lover. And he's the villain in both of these movies. I made a joke on Twitter. I'm waiting for the John Reed biopic that depicts Queen and Elton John as ingrates who would be nowhere without him.
That sounds like a much more fun movie.
And who's the original record executive? I can't remember that actor's name. He's shown up in some of the Guy Ritchie movies and has worked with the guy with the big glasses.
Oh,
like he sound like he would be hanging.
That guy.
Yeah,
right.
he
the
would
first
be.
Guy.
Yeah, I can't. His name's escaping me off the top of my head.
Richard Madden is evilly beautiful.
He's so sexy.
And that was like, Bryce Dallas Howard is his mother, right?
Horribly miscast.
Oh, no. I disagree. I think she's another good thing.
I thought she was
terrible.
Because I saw her early on and I was like, who is that woman? She looks like Bryce Dallas Howard, but I was so convinced that she was British that I was like the whole movie. And then in the closing credits when they said her story, I was like, oh my God.
She got a little doughy and she's doing a British accent.
I think she's really good in this.
I thought she was horribly miscast and I was distracted by her accent the whole time.
Okay.
You guys are music haters. I like this movie.
I'm going to make a prediction this movie is going to get at least a nomination, if not a win, for Best Costume, despite the fact that we see in the photos, the closing credits, that the costume designer is slavishly recreating the designs of other people. But that is a distinction that will be lost upon.
Well, right, because
Bob Mackie actually did most of the Elton John.
Right, because you'll look at it and be like, oh, there were costumes in that movie, and they were like, wow, I couldn't turn away from those costumes. They had costumes. I better nominate it.
It is fun, and because there are enough moments that really dazzle, I wish the whole thing had taken a risk the whole way through. But the structure is so safe. That rehab flashback structure is so safe. Down to the very, very end where you have title cards saying Elton John did such and such and so, and here he is being very much alive. So to your point about how they depict the addiction and his really bad behavior, when he's a drunk and with the money, he's a mess. Even that is in the service of this redemption tale because Elton John is very much alive, as Alonso pointed out, and very much a part of things.
I will say, for a biopic of a living person made by a living person, he allows himself to look kind of shitty at various points in the film. Like, my favorite line of the movie is in rehab when he finally admits, I've been a cunt since 1975. Like, that's a level of honesty that was maybe beyond what I expected. At the same time, he is using this movie to get back at John Reed and his mother and everybody else, every other score he felt like settling. This was going to be the moment to do it.
And the fact that it kind of oversimplifies, if we're talking about what's his inspiration for being an artist, it kind of oversimplifies it to like a pop psychology of his father was emotionally withholding and his mother was, promiscuous and rejected him. Yeah. And he's constantly striving for their approval and love decades later. Yeah. And and maybe that's true, but it seems really overly simplified.
It's a 1950s level of Freudian storytelling.
It's very simple. So it's fun though. People clapped at our screening after various numbers. People clapped.
And clapped at the end of the movie.
Yeah, they all got in for free.
Also, in case you guys did not recognize at the top of the show what music it is that we were playing, I haven't told you guys yet what it is.
What is it?
It's William Shatner doing Rocketman.
Nice.
Have you heard this?
Yeah.
Clearly, I was trying to find Stewie doing William Shatner doing Rocketman, but I couldn't find that. It's amazing. This is part of William Shatner's spoken word oeuvre.
Indeed. So, numbers.
I'm going to say 5.9.
4.5. Like, I appreciate the craft, but I just was disappointed pretty much from start to finish.
Okay.
This movie's super fun. 7.5.
Right.
Our number's a 6. It is at 90% on the tomato meter. But you know what, you guys? That's a whole lot of 2.5-star reviews.
Yeah,
that's
a whole lot of people thought it plied with champagne, probably.
Right, and then like Elton and Taron are there hugging and crying, and then they did a duet in the sand at Cannes. How do you not love that and get swept up in? And speaking of Cannes, they recreate the "I'm Still Standing" video.
Yeah, that is the moment of artistic triumph at the end of this movie, and it's like, really, that shitty song? You're
yeah. Real quick, what Elton John song have you guys had in your head ever since?
Strangely, "Leave On," which isn't in the film, but I wish it was.
Okay.
Honky Cat.
I've had Crocodile Rock quite a bit, and I've had some pieces of Rocketman itself. My kid is so annoyed with me right now. He's like, stop singing. All right, so Rocketman is okay.
And the thought that there's a soundtrack of Taron and other people in this movie singing these songs that people are listening to, I can't even wrap my head around that one.
All summer long. It's your summer jam, people.
Mamma mia, here we go again. All right. Thank you for watching. Like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us at BeFastAllDay on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and check out our Patreon page. Subscribe at patreon.com/BeFastAllDay. Today we'll be recapping the season finale of Fosse Verdon. Later this week, we're going to talk about trailers and other stuff. And of course, when you subscribe to our Patreon, you aren't just getting the new stuff, you're getting our whole backlog of weeks now.
So veritable weeks of Games of Thrones.
All the Game of Thrones stuff, everything that we've already
Game
done.
over, dude.
You get access to. So anyway, thanks.
Thanks, bye.